What's going on, guys? It is the second episode of the War Lounge. If you guys are watching this on patreon.com, that means you guys are watching this with early access. I hope you guys enjoyed the first War Lounge that you guys got early access. That was more of like an experimental format with that kind of watch along with us and kind of listen to us but watch the game kind of thing. That was kind of experimental. So as of right now, when we're recording this, I just released the first War Lounge, like literally 5 minutes ago. So we're getting right back into it, getting right back to work on the second episode. So I'm excited to hear what you guys think about the first one. And then the first one will go live on Sunday to the public for everybody who's not a Patreon supporter. So today I'm back here with Cobey again, of course, and we're gonna mold Cobey's brain into a wealth of Halo esports knowledge. And today, what we're really gonna do is we're gonna go through and we're just gonna talk about the World Championships overall, kind of outcomes, surprises, things that we expect, and we'll end with a couple minutes of where Halo is gonna kind of go from here. So like I mentioned, Cobey's here with me. Cobey, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Nothing. I'm really excited that you found this bracket because
Yes.
for those who don't know, I was looking for this bracket like forever, and I looked everywhere but eslgaming.com, and that's where it was.
Yeah,
And
we can go ahead
I
and
don't
link
know.
this. We can go ahead and link this bracket
Yeah, I'll
to
link
the
it in the
video.
description.
That way we can give you guys all have an understanding of what we're looking at in terms of the bracketing stage. It's kind of hard to find. You had to scroll down on Google quite a bit, but I found it. So
Damn it,
hey.
Google. But yeah, so this page is really good because it gives the stats for not only the bracket stage and how those series laid out, but it gives the standings for the group stages as well. Um, so let's just start it off with Group A. Group A was really predictable. If you mispredicted Group A, you're either a very ballsy gambler or you just really don't know Halo esports too well.
It would be
Uh,
uninformed in that aspect. So that would be me. That would be
yeah,
me
yeah, this is
mispredicting Group A.
yeah, yeah. If Kobe predicted Group A before watching this past weekend, he might not have known that this was what was going to happen, but everybody else knew it was going to happen.
Yep.
Um,
And Optic Gaming comes out on top. I would have guessed that. Let's just put that way. But
Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe you get the first, but then it comes down to crowd pleasers and supremacy. You may not know. The only giveaway might be is that obviously North America is the dominant region in Halo. So maybe you put them above supremacy just for that. But let me tell you, supremacy did show some good qualities in group play. They took a map off Optic Gaming. It was I was in shock. Like I didn't know whether to laugh because they were joking or like be really scared for North American Halo. I really didn't know. And then Optic just came and like did their thing. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, like they took a map off them, and I got worried for a second because I wasn't too familiar with supremacy. So they came in like guns blazing. I was like, wow, like we might have something here. But it just fell into the predictability that everybody who was in the know thought that group would fall into.
yeah. Makes sense though.
Um,
What about Group B? So Team Liquid comes out, right? They're winning
yeah.
four out of 6 matches.
Yep. So
Luminosity comes in second. London Conspiracy, who I've never even heard of, comes in a brilliant third place with 0-3.
yeah, so London Conspiracy. Ooh, I just got really bright because I changed the page. London Conspiracy is really interesting because they are a group of really good EU Halo players. It's just this group again is the dominance of NA. You see it here again. This group again, pretty predictable. It's when you put Liquid against Luminosity, Liquid's just so they're so dynamic in everything they do, and Luminosity seems to like they're kind of always just changing a little bit, trying to find that perfect fit. Um, they have star power in Ninja. Um, just Ninja is been at the top of Halo for a while now. I still consider him there.
I heard something
Um,
this weekend about how he's like the favorited Halo 5 player at the moment. How he's like one of the most famous Halo 5 players at the moment.
yeah, like he is like if you wanted to take the Halo world and compare it to like let's compare it to like Twitch. Halo is or
He's
Ninja
Summit.
is like Summit,
Yeah,
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 or like
definitely.
Lyric. Like everybody loves the guy because he's got a great personality. He streams often, so like people get that personal connection with him.
Yeah.
But everybody forgets like he's not a streamer. He is a top Halo player, and I have yet to see evidence that he has like he's like fallen from grace. I think the performance of his team doesn't reflect his personal performance at least like 80% of the time.
Okay.
I believe like as an individual he outclasses his team's placings, but that's just a personal opinion. um, as far as Liquid goes, they're doing great. You know,
They're just
everybody on that roster is just they're like between them Envious and Optic, it's like anything can happen. The obvious is that Optic wins, but anything can happen in that top three.
but after this tournament, you also have to throw Splice into that, right?
Yeah, Splice showed up and surprised everybody with especially with that Envy series.
Yeah.
They're actually the next group, so let's
Yep.
just go over to the next
That's why
group.
I segued.
Yeah, so Envy versus Splice, probably one of the best series in the whole Halo Championship. Splice versus Luminosity later on in the winners bracket. That was also a very good series. Um, but man, they didn't come to play, they came to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it really showed in that first series. And I was super glad to see them kind of show up like that, like Shooter, Boo Boo Doo Boo, Shotzi, like all those guys, super talented guys. I'm glad that they had this success in Halo because that shows a bright future for talent in Halo esports, at least, even though they don't become the world champions. Still a great showing overall.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Team Immunity, they tried.
0-3. But that brings us to Group D, which has
They
Straight
tried.
Rippin, Fab Game Esports, and Soar Gaming. Straight Rippin, obviously the only American team in that. Just break down Group D for me real quick. Is this obvious? I mean, was this a...
Kind of obvious. It's obvious that Soar was going to be at the bottom,
Okay.
and then Fab and Straight were going to be a really good fight for the top, with the advantage being in Straight, just because Straight Ripping's not only just like a legendary name in Halo, but the guys on that roster are veterans of the scene. Richie Hines, Ace, and APG, they've been around forever, and they've been at the top. They know what it takes, and then they bring the young god Renegade.
Mm-hmm.
They bring him onto the team, and he just breathes that new life into them, kind of gives them that young gun point of view in their strategy, and it works out for them. He's Renegade's just like a pool of raw natural talent, and they exploit that, and they do it very well. So with the three veteran minds plus the raw talent of Renegade's shot, that team is something to fear, and they proved it by taking the group from Fab, which is easily the number one European Halo team. They're number one by a very large margin. So that just shows you kind of the distance between regions, that I think I think when you break it down, every NA team placed above every international team besides crowd pleasers. I
Okay.
think crowd pleasers is either they came in the same placing or one below Fab. Um, so Fab is really the only team to be on par with an American team, but it is the bottom American team. Um, but that just shows you the strength of the North American region.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, then that kind of brings us straight into the actual bracket tournament, right? The actual the tournament overall. Now we did our first episode of the War Lounge over realistically talking about day one, and the Splice versus NV matchup when we watched that whole series and broke it down. Now let's go ahead and just break it into day two. Well, day one, Splice beats NV. Supremacy took a map off Optic. Team Liquid beat Luminosity 3-0. And then we had two Game 7 matches. Yeah.
There was 3 Game 7s
Three
in
Game
bracket.
7s.
Well, in the first round of bracket, and then in the not the second in the third round, there was also that Splice Straight Rippin series in losers bracket that had a Game 7 as well.
So then,
the bracket play started off with a lot of Game 7s, and then there was one more.
Yep. So then day two leads us into 12 teams. Again, from my notes, basically Optic just continued to dominate the series. Envious dominated Supremacy in a pretty bad matchup. I think we were talking, they ended up 50-14.
That's actually a series I didn't even watch.
Yeah, that's the one we were recording during that series.
Yeah, so it was that and the SOAR versus Splice game. Those we missed half of one series. We missed a whole one of those series and then half of the other one. But that's because I was super, confident in what the outcomes were going to be.
Yeah, so then that leads us to the final four going into day three, which were Team Liquid, Straight Rippin', Envious, and Optic Gaming. Like you were talking about, four powerhouse teams in the Halo 5 community, which day three comes around, Optic Gaming, 2 straight wins. That team, man, Lethal, Snakebite, Royal 2, Frosty. Talk to me about day three and how it felt. Was it was it a given going into day three that Optic was going to just sweep the tournament, or
I honestly felt like it was Optic. The game that Team Liquid won on Optic, I don't know why, but it felt like a fluke.
Okay.
I don't because when Optic plays Team Liquid in winners bracket finals, Team Liquid takes a map off them, but something about watching that series, that win didn't feel kosher. I don't know. It just gave me an offset feeling, and I was that's kind of one of those wins where you just kind of shrug off and you pretend that it doesn't happen. It didn't happen, but it feels like it didn't happen. It's not demoralizing at all.
Yeah.
It really has no mental effect on you.
Yeah.
And something about that win, I was just it's almost like it didn't even happen. So the fact that Optic was able to dominate a Team Liquid like that, and then Envy goes all the way to Game 6 with them, once I saw that it took more than 5 games for Envy to beat Liquid, I knew the outcome of the finals already. I knew that Optic was going to destroy either 4-1 or 4-0. I was actually more leaning towards 4-1. I thought Envy was going to take at least one game. But once I saw how much they struggled against a team that Optic looked very comfortable with, I knew the outcome.
Cool. So this wasn't a surprise at all in terms of the way that the tournament ended up with Optic just sweeping them.
I would say it was a surprise from the start of that day, but as you got closer to the finals, it was kind of okay, I've seen this again. I know how this movie ends. But if you were just to look at the beginning of the day and then the results, it's a little bit more surprising because from the start of that day, I'd expect a bigger fight from Envy in the finals.
That makes sense. Okay, so we covered the tournament. What does this mean for Halo? Tell me where we're gonna go from here. What are we gonna see? Who surprised you in terms of teams, maybe players, and who should we be looking out for the future?
One thing I was really surprised with was Straight Rippin taking the series from Splice. I think the tournament's completely different if Splice wins that series, because I think they have the potential to beat Envy, and then they play Liquid in the losers finals. So the grand finals is a completely different matchup. It's either Optic versus Liquid or Optic versus Splice, and that is you could predict the Optic win there, but there's a bigger chance for like a wow factor, I think.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like a bigger I can't think of the word.
Higher chance of a surprise or not
They're,
so much
yeah,
an
they're
upset,
like a bigger
but...
they're like a bigger wild card in that scenario.
Yeah,
they're less predictable.
That series was super close. I mean, Straight Rippin only takes it by one map.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like that series could go either way, but if Splice wins it, the whole tournament could change. The whole outcome can change.
So for that particular series, I mean, think about it. Would you say that the veteran experience from Straight Rippin kind of came in hand versus Splice, or would you say it was just map selection and comfortability, particular game modes that really helped them out? Because I know Splice is a run and gun, very fast paced type of team. I didn't watch a lot of Straight Rippin, so I don't know what their team atmosphere is like.
I think the veterancy wins that series for them. The amount of times that Heinz, APG, and Ace have been in those like close series situations, if you combine them, it's like 4 times as many as all the guys on Splice combined. So they've been doing this for so long, they know how to handle a series like that. And I think coaching is a big factor in this too. Wes, aka Clutch, coaching for Straight Rippin. He brings veterancy to the table too. He's been at it for a long time. He knows. I'd assume he has to know, the right words to say at the right moment to keep them calm and to keep their heads in the series, and just instead of getting down on a loss, just being like, all right, that happened. Let's play the next game.
Yeah.
I'd figure that he brings that to the table for them.
Awesome. So, I mean, I don't think that Optic is going to be slowing down anytime soon. But do you think that any other team is going to be speeding up in terms of their abilities to possibly take Optic down for the 2018 season?
I think honestly, I think the teams it's crazy to think about, because back when Halo 5 started, Optic was so dominant at such a big margin that it was the tournaments and stuff, they were more like who's going to get second place rather than like, who's going to win, because everybody's like, Optic's going to win everything. Who's just going to get second place?
Yeah.
But now it's getting closer to like who's going to win these things. The gap has narrowed between the top contenders in Optic. But I still think the Optic dominance is going to keep rolling. Splice, Straight, Envy, and Team Liquid are all teams that have the capability to step up their performance and catch Optic. They all have the ability. What they need to do that, I don't really know, because I'm not in on those nightly scrims. I'm not listening to their communication on a daily basis. I don't know the spectrum of, where they are Monday and where they are Friday, and like comparing those after a week of scrims and things like that. So I don't really know what they have to do, but from the in-tournament performances that we saw at Worlds, I think all of those teams have a chance to kind of, put their heads down and put in the work to figure out what it takes to bring down Optic. Envy's done it before. Envy's done it before. Liquid has shown to be a good opponent for Envy. Splice, I just have a lot of faith in their talent and what they can do with it. And Straight has the veterancy. They've all been at the top at one point or another, and they know what it takes to get there, and they'll do it again if they can.
Now, as we all know, the game that I am most familiar with at the moment is Counter-Strike, and one of the things with Counter-Strike is that the meta changes constantly. I mean, there's a different style of play, for the economics aspect or the economy aspect or whatever every 6 months. Is Halo very similar? Does the meta change without obviously changing games, or is it one of those things that you kind of adapt or create a play style, and the only time that you really change is when somebody can dominate or beat it?
More of the second option, just because we don't see it's not like Counter-Strike where in Counter-Strike we see maps being changed, like Inferno getting remade, Nuke getting remade. Like, we don't see things like that in Halo.
Okay.
The more things we see in Halo are like weapon spawns, like what's weapons spawn where, power-ups that are on the map. Those are the types of changes we see, and those are the biggest impact, because strategy, for the breakout strategy is probably the most important. It sets the pace for the whole game. It can get you an early lead. So your starting strategy is most important. And that can all change if, 343 decides, let's make the sniper more competitive and put it in the middle of the map rather than giving one team a slight advantage for camo and giving one team a slight advantage for the sniper. So, a strategy for a whole map can change if a change like that occurs. But every team kind of has their own style of what they want to do at the beginning of a map. A lot of teams like to just secure as many power-ups and power weapons as possible. Some teams are willing to burn over shield, while other teams only want to grab it if they know they can get away with it. So I don't think like the meta, quote unquote, is going to change so much, unless things like big arguments are happening now about what to do with radar in Halo, because this is the first Halo that we've had radar in competitive game mode.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of argument about what to do in that space. If that changes, that will change how Halo is played very significantly.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'll be the biggest thing to look for in the future if changes like that happen.
Now, do you think that that simple aspect, radar being implemented in the competitive, has provided opportunities for people, who are, I guess, the easiest way I'll ask this is: are there any players who have come up recently that have been able to use radar to their advantage to get very, very good at particular game modes or maps or whatever? And if they change radar, do you think that there are players that are going to lose a lot of their dominance because that's like a big crutch for them?
I don't like nobody really comes to mind if I think of like who's only good because there's radar. Nobody really comes to mind because at the end of the day, it is still Halo, and if you can't hit 5 shots, then you're not going to last too long. And as far as like radar going away, I don't think that would demoralize anybody's playstyle so bad that they would like fall from pro status. I just think that would change the way teams play a little bit, because now not only do you have to control what your team is doing, but Halo 5 would be you would need a lot of team communication just to keep track of the enemy team, because I've told you about this on the first one. Like, Halo 5 is the first time we've been able to rotate around the map so quickly.
Yeah.
And with that advanced mobility, it's a lot of information to keep track of, a lot of bodies to keep track of where they're going, what they're doing, and that advanced movement makes it a lot harder to keep track of people. But on the other hand, the radar makes it, especially with the regular radar that we have now, it makes it a little too easy to kind of have map awareness without cooperation. and it encourages bad play style, like just like crouching around corners and things like that. Halo's never been about that, and I agree that it shouldn't start being about that now. Um, but um, it'll just be interesting to see what they do with it. I think they've made, I know you don't know this, but they've made changes to the radar recently in matchmaking where you don't show up on radar all the time. You only show up on radar when you use your thrust or when you use like ground pound or you're sprinting. I think that's a step in the right direction. And I know it's like a thing where everybody needs to know like what's your stance on like radar and stuff like that. And the truth is like I really don't have like a concrete stance because I really don't know like what's the best. You know, I would have to play everybody's suggestions and get a feel for how that changes the game to have like a solid opinion on it. So I really don't have a solid opinion or idea on like this is where we should go with it.
All right.
I just don't know.
Well, hey, I mean, you answered the question, right? So for Halo, do you want to continue on conversing about the future of Halo? There's a couple different things. First of all, I'm looking at ESL's upcoming events, and realistically, the only thing that's coming up soon is in May they have IEM Sydney 2017, which is obviously the big Counter-Strike tournament, and then in June they have the Pro Finals in Dallas, Texas, which I would love to go to, but I'll be in Canada. And July, ESL Cologne, and October, another ESL big tournament. Mainly all Counter-Strike. Cool. So, I guess, I mean, that's pretty much all I had. Was there anything else that you wanted to throw into this episode? Maybe announcing stuff for your Patreons? Or
No, I don't have anything to announce for them just yet. But yeah, I don't have anything to say yet.
Okay.
But more stuff is coming. As of right now today, we're so close to our first Patreon goal that it's unbelievable. We're almost there. I'm scrambling to think of something for the next goal. So you guys are amazing. Thanks for all the support. I hope you guys enjoy these war lounges. You guys know that you are more than welcome to voice your opinion on things. If you're a $5 patron or above, hit me up in the Discord. You know, I'm down to chat with you guys anytime. If you're just like a $1 patron, feel free to leave a comment on one of the Patreon posts. And if you're not a patron, then, you know, leave your feedback in the YouTube comment section. Because I'm always reading those.
You can hit us up on Twitter. Another big thing is if you guys like the layout of the video logs podcast aspect that we're doing, let me know if there's anything that you would suggest. Again, let us know. If there is anything that you guys want us to talk about, hit Dan up, hit myself up at Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's for my that's part of my patrons perks too, is topic suggestion.
There you go.
That one's gonna start I'm gonna put up the comment thread for that in a couple of days when the new month starts. But yeah.
Awesome. All right. So thanks so much. This is War Lounge episode 2. And my name's Cobey.
My name is Summit 1G.
And that wraps it up, guys. Thanks so much. Enjoy.